Hi, my name is Jared Wilson. Thank you for coming to my digital citizenship presentation. We're going to discuss today how digital citizenship plays a role in schools and specifically here at SCA. So it is important for us as educators to teach our students how to navigate technology ethically, morally, and safely. Due to technology's rapid advancement, it is critical that teachers are continuously sharpening their technology skills and practices to be leaders in the technology world. Appropriate and safe technology or internet use is something we all need to explicitly be teaching and modeling for our students on a consistent basis. When we teach technology, we should always take a moral approach. Internet access can seem impersonal to students and should be humanized so that students are making more ethically and morally sound decisions. One approach is the READY approach. R standing for remind. So we need to remind students to be mindful of what information and opinions they are making public. Educate students on the negative aspects of online use. Next up is encourage. Encourage students to step away from their cell phones or computer screens when hanging out with friends, offline peer relations, and just as important, online ones. Next is accountability. It is key. Encourage digital accountability by creating a student digital use guide for online uses that teaches students how to properly and safely use the internet. We have one here at SCA. Something I think we're lacking is having those displayed in the classrooms and near those devices so that we are able to see them and be reminded of those policies. Next up is demonstrate. It is important to demonstrate and model good digital citizenship to promote a culture for positive online use. Incorporate lessons about the differences between sharing and stealing online content. Content such as photos are easily found, and it may feel like anything on the internet is up to grabs, but most of it is protected by copyright and intellectual property laws. And then be a culture of the yes. So when it comes to launching digital tools, too often schools block or lock down everything to be safe. Instead, we need to start teaching positive digital citizenship by opening some of those tools, such as YouTube or Twitter, and then modeling what that positive use looks like. I try to use my Google Classroom that same way, where when my students are commenting, everything is appropriate, everything is specifically how I want them to address the class when we're commenting on a stream, and we go through and we explicitly talk about what would have been okay to say, what not would have been okay to say, and how to progress through that. Next is 6 common traits to teaching digital literacy. As you kind of go through and research some of the different traits to teaching digital literacy, the components of teaching digital literacy, they tend to all mimic the same traits. So first is media balance and wellness balance. So making sure students are understanding that it's okay to be on technology, it's okay to be on the internet, but using it sparingly, as well as getting social interaction around that. Next is privacy and security. There's a ton of legal information on privacy and security of students and individuals, and it's important that we are teaching our students how to find that and how to research that so that when they are sharing information or when they are using different websites, they understand the information they're typing in and where that goes. It is important that students know their digital footprint and identity and how much information they are putting out on the internet. Next up is the relationship and community and how they are using their internet resources to help the community, help establish relationships between one another, and establishing safe relationships among each other online. Next is cyberbullying, digital drama, and hate speech. How to not only disband these things from happening, to stop these things from happening, but also how to protect themselves when they are taking place. And last is news and media literacy, and making sure that students are understanding that not everything they read is going to be factual, and that it's important that they are sifting through those resources to determine what is accurate and what is not. 7 common traits to teaching. So the first one they talk about is teaching empathy, to really address technology and the internet with empathy, teaching our students to humanize the internet. Too often we find our students not using the internet like they would face-to-face because it doesn't have that human appearance to it. Number 2, understanding how the internet works. Talk to your students and break down the many networks that makes the internet up. A lot of individuals don't quite necessarily understand where that information goes. It kind of appears as just a big cloud, and most people think there's just a cloud floating ahead. That's where our data is. And that's not the case. So bringing those up, showing those visual diagrams to our students will help them understand that what they are putting into those computers are being tracked in other areas. The next up is user collected data. So teaching those students that data is collected and stored. So when they're typing in, I'm in 5th grade, I go to this school, I live in this town, they need to understand that they're sharing that information with other individuals and not necessarily just the individual app or program that they're using. Digital literacy, again, a common theme, focusing on accuracy and reliable resources. Another one this resource put in was acknowledging the digital divide. So noticing that nearly 25% of the United States still does not have access to the internet, as to where the other 75%, it almost appears like it's taken for granted or that it's second nature. They've always grown up with internet. That's all they know. And there's a huge divide between those who have internet, who don't have internet, and the type of resources and the knowledge that can be shared to those who do have the internet. Next is digital wellness. Again, making smart decisions about using technology and use times, when it's appropriate, how long is appropriate, how often is appropriate. Next is digital security, teaching our students what is and what isn't appropriate to put online. Talking about sharing their name, sharing their age, sharing their addresses. Things like that are important to tell our students, because more often than not, unpurposely, they are sharing that information. 5 reasons to teach digital literacy. Information literacy. What are we doing as educators to make sure that our students are able to filter information, reliable sources? There's tools online you can use through Google that'll show how reliable a resource is. Things like that, talking to the students that we might need to look at more than one resource to understand a topic so that we're not just hearing one side of things. Cyberbullying. What are we doing to protect our students from cyberbullies? Do we have something in place? Do we have an avenue for students to come talk to us if it is happening? Online safety. Again, what resources in our classroom are we using to keep our students safe? Are we consistently monitoring what information our students are sharing online? Do we have posters? What processes are we using here at SCA? Digital responsibility. How can we teach and model to our students an appropriate technology usage? Other than demonstrating in the classroom, we've got to find another avenue that we can really explain to them and show them proper usage. Health and emotional wellness. So how are we teaching students about healthy choices when it comes to technology? Recommended technology times and technology times at school. When are we using too much technology versus not enough technology, and really researching how we can best implement that. This next section, there's 9 key elements broken up into 3 sections. So R stands for respect yourself and others. You have etiquette. Students need to understand how their technology affects others. Remind them that there is another person at the end of the other text, tweet, comment, or post. Again, humanizing internet and the technology. Access. Not everyone has the same opportunities with technology. Those who have more access with technology need to help those who don't. Laws. The ease of using online tools has allowed some people to steal, harass, and cause problems for others. Students need to know that they can't take content without permission and give credit to those who have created it originally. The next section is E for educating yourself and others. So literacy, learning happens everywhere. Regardless of whether we get our information from our friends, family, or online, we need to be aware that it might not be correct. Students need to understand and evaluate accuracy, perspective, and validity of digital media and social posts. Communication. Knowing when and where to use technology is important. Using email, text, or social media may not be the best method for interacting with someone. Students need to think about the message first, then the method, and decide if the manner and the audience is appropriate. Commerce. Technology allows us to buy and sell across the globe. Students should be careful about sharing personal and credit information online. comes with risk. P is for protecting yourself and others, the rights and responsibilities. Build trust so that if something happens online, P is for protecting yourself and others. So we need to talk about the rights and responsibilities and build trust so that if something happens online, students are willing to share their problems or concerns when it happens. Security, so that everyone's responsibility to guard their own tools and having the software and applications to do so. And then health and wellness needs to be that balance between the online world and real world, and students should establish limits with technology and spend quality face-to-face time with friends and family. So different curriculums that we can use here at SCA to help teach this. This is the Digital Citizen curriculum for K-12. It breaks it down again into privacy and security, self-image and identity, relationships and communication, cyberbullying and digital drama, digital footprint and reputation, creative credit, copyright, information literacy, and then internet safety. So again, following those same processes I've discussed before, but another curriculum and avenue we can use to teach our students about becoming a better digital citizen. Next thing I'd like to discuss is CIPA. It is the Protecting Children in the 21st Century Act. The laws and regulations that hold schools and organizations responsible to children's safety while on the internet. Outlines that schools are required to educate students on online behavior. We must educate students on cyberbullying, and the target is to keep students safe. This is kind of the reason behind why we have to teach our students, what we have to teach our students, and how we protect our students. All of the reasons we have filters at school, why some resources don't come through, why we can block YouTube, why we can block these different technologies is through this law and how it helps protect students. COPPA, C-O-P-P-A, applies to commercial companies and limits their ability to collect personal information from children under 13. By default, Google Advertising, for example, has turned off apps for education users. No personal student information is collected for commercial purposes. This is aimed to keep student data and information private, but it still means that teachers still remain responsible to process what data is being collected when using online resources. I've also seen where a lot of the resources teachers use are free, and it's free to us, but the way that these resources are being paid is that they are collecting the data we share with them and they are selling it to a third party. Teachers need to be very vigilant about what information is being put on those sites because that data is more than likely being shared with others. E-Rate is a program designed to assist schools with providing access to the internet. Protocols and guidelines must be followed to be eligible. It helps provide funding for technologies. And in order to be eligible and use E-Rate programs and funding, you must be able to adhere to the CIPA regulations and laws. iSafe is a corporate company that specializes in helping schools safely use the internet and other resources. They provide permission slips, different documentation. They provide or monitor student collected and shared data. They also implement policy and written documentation for uses of technology. It's basically a safeguard for schools when they're looking at technology, how they use the technology, and iSafe is a company that tries to kind of take care of the legal side of using those technologies. So as a reminder, the SCA technology agreement we have listed here. I also have it listed in our school policy on our website as well. To break down a little bit more, we have our internet use. Really to talk in specifics, it talks about internet access, technology etiquette, being polite, using appropriate language, illegal activities, and revealing personal and information. It continues to talk about how email is not private, do not distribute the network of other users, inappropriate uses of an account, using SCA technology for commercial, political, and personal or private gain is prohibited, and communication. So how they are communicating with one another. It's broken down, and again, this can be found in our staff handbook as well as our student handbook. Here is a list of my references that I use for this. If there's any questions, any concerns, please let me know, and thank you again for following my presentation.